said, compassion and tolerance are not a sign of weakness, but it's a sign of a strength. So let's believe that when we accommodate others, the divergence, the diversity, I think we become stronger. And I think that is a word the tolerance probably would try to drive. I would also like to say that in terms of peace, peace would be a culture of freedom and universal respect, upholding all human rights and eliminating double standards, which are generally prevailing. It should be a festival of diversities, as I was saying. The culture of peace, in the culture of peace, the conflict should not produce any violence. That's very, very important. Rather, it should create a social order based on equal human rights, dignity of all persons, and reverence for all living creatures and life systems which are there. The tolerance is also fostered by the knowledge, openness, communication, and freedom of thought, conscience, and belief. The Declaration of Principle of Tolerance states that it is the moral duty and legal requirement of every human being, group, and state to implement tolerance. However, stating this requirement alone is not sufficient enough to strengthen this notion. When making decisions, individuals, the social groups that have embraced the culture of tolerance are always guided by the principle that we comes before I. I think that's very, very important in our regular working and the deeds. The culture of peace and coexistence is such a complete system of moral and spiritual capabilities that it involves impeccably tolerant behavior. Thus, tolerance is a virtue that makes peace possible and contributes to dampen the culture of war by culture of peace. At this point, I'd like to just share a small story that a wise man, while advising his son, said, "Son, make sure that you never forget to do these three things." And the things were: eat the best food, sleep on the comfortable bed, reside in the best of the homes. And the son replied, "Dad, we are very poor. How can we do that?" And the father replied, "If you only eat when you are truly hungry, you will be eating the most delicious food. If you work hard, honestly and sincerely, and go to sleep tired, you will sleep on the most comfortable bed. If you are courteous to the people, treat them with dignity and respect, you will reside in their hearts, and it will be the best residence of all." I think this anecdote, this story certainly touches the soul of everyone because it is very true. Simply and clearly, it states, if you have practiced all of these, it is a clear sign that you are a tolerant person. We have to remind people why life is beautiful, why they should work together, and why we must help each other. Because it is not about race, language, color, religion, or who is right or who is wrong. It is about bringing together our world, healing each other, and embracing diversity, also teaching not to fear but to love. And this in turn will give us a new tolerant and a peaceful world. With these words, my dear friends, I would like to conclude by saying that always denounce any lust and greed. Never be known by your caste and creed. Certainly be proud of your class and deed. And finally, always sow the seeds for tolerance to breed. I think with that message, I would like to conclude. I'd like to close. Thank you very much for your attention. Thanks to the host and the Adinath College and Professor Sharma for this opportunity. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. But please wait for 2 minutes as our principal, sir, would like to give you an oath of thanks.
Thanks, sir. I, Dr. N.K. Sharma. Thanks to all the short notice you have prepared yourself for us, for all the community of learning. Thanks, sir. Thanks too much. Due to some technical problem, I was unable to link with us. Sir, thanks again. Thanks a lot. Thanks, sir.
Appreciate Professor Sharma. I appreciate all of you for joining. Thank you.
Sir, your message given to the total entire community will be graceful, will be beneficial to all of us. Thank you, sir. Thank you too much.
Namaskar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, as your speech was very informative and orchestrated. Now I'd like to call Dr. Adriana Chopio-Burlia, a highly educated educationist woman who has completed bachelor's degree in law, industries, construction and transportation economy, master's in economics and doctorate in economics. She is a distinct personality of Romania. She has written more than 35 books, She's working as an expert for Erasmus Plus, capacity building in the field of youth, expert for international projects, European Union, people. She's an expert evaluator for the Roman Agency for Quality Assurance in Higher Education, etc. Now it's over to you, Adriana, ma'am.
Hello, good afternoon, and I want to share my presentation because during my presentation we will build together new idea and new opinion, and you will see we'll have a new approach about peace and disaster. I want to share my presentation. Is possible?
Sorry to interrupt you, ma'am. We can't see your video. Please.
Yeah, it's not possible because I'm in a village and the laptop has
Can
no
you enable
video.
your video, please? Can you enable your video?
I need to share my video, my presentation.
Yes, okay,
PowerPoint.
share, ma'am. Please to share your video by enabling your video of Zoom.
It's not possible. I want to share my presentation. PowerPoint presentation.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, just wait. Wait for 5 seconds.
To share screen and to unlock my PowerPoint presentation. Possible to make not disable, make enable.
We're doing it. Don't worry.
See your security on. Okay.
Done, ma'am. Done. It's done.
It's okay now.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perfect. My presentation today, it's about relationship between dispersal of responsibility and disaster. We know a lot of things about both of them, about disaster and about dispersal of responsibility. I start my presentation with two quotes, one of Aristotle Onassis that prove it is during our darkest moment that we must focus to see the light. This is about disaster. And the second, it's about peace. And the great Buddha said, we can never obtain peace in the outer world until we make peace with ourselves. For this reason, nowadays, worldwide, it's marked by many crises, also pandemic crisis, last coronavirus, and many zones are in the war, like Middle Orient. And for this reason, you will see what it is important to understand one of the causes of this disaster around the world. The aim of my presentation is third approach. One, to underline the role of dispersal of responsibility. And this is one concept that I developed since 2006 when I presented for first time at Parliament of European Union at a conference. And what promoted, and I publish many chapters and articles related to this concept about the dispersal of responsibilities. The second, to identify the key levels of the dispersal of phenomenon in relationship with disaster. And third, that it's not less important, to find the solution for reducing negative effect of the relationship between dispersal of responsibility and disaster. Here I have made a presentation about what means new challenge in our international landscape today. We have dispersal of responsibility, we have disaster, and also we have international landscape. We are the relationship between disaster and dispersal of responsibility. It's managed by ethical dilemmas. What we can do when we do something, why we do something when we are in face of disaster. Relationship between dispersal of responsibility and international landscape, it's managed by risk management. Nowadays, we have seen around the world what means risk management. I have seen on a chat during this webinar that many people ask to discuss many examples about what means peace, what means race, what means difference nationality. And for this reason, the principal role it's not played by a minister or a president of some country, is played by media. Mass media sometimes improve the negative effects of some disaster. The relationship between disaster and international landscape it's based on legitimacy and trust. For this reason, we have to take into account what means dispersal of responsibility. And for this reason, I have few questions for everybody, for all people that are today with us, and if they want to write something interesting in their topic. First of all, how dispersal of responsibility co-evolve during disaster, and that is very important. And here we have to mention a lot of example. The last disaster, it's in the world, it's what it's happened with COVID. And taking into account this problem, we have a question: how mass media, how minister, how our colleague, our friends, our family develop this problem. And you have seen that we have many sources of information, and for this reason, dispersal of responsibility played a very important role, and sometimes was very difficult to assess and to make a real judgment. How does the relationship between dispersal of responsibility and disaster affect the people, organization, and society? That is very important, because we have seen after this period, we will have a crisis of management, economic crisis of food, crisis of judgment, crisis of trust. That all crises will be in relationship with dispersal of responsibility. The third, how dispersal of responsibility moderate decision-making process at the national and the international level. You have your own example in your country, in your school, in your job. Define dispersal of responsibility as a complex phenomenon. And this phenomenon acts on many different levels of influence. That is very important. Economic, social, legal, also personal and politics, so on. And the purpose of this phenomenon is to supply irresponsible organization with tools for illegal and unethical action. That is very important. The two elements, illegal and unethical action. During the peace, during the disaster, that is very important, because sometimes people have a lot of fortune and money taking a lot of illegal and unethical action. What means dispersal of responsibility in our life? We have the sources of dispersal of responsibility. We have preferential interpretation and application of some part of many pieces of legislation with the same meaning. That the legislation at the national and international level has a lot of problem in interpretation. We have also a lot of bureaucracy also in public organization, in school, in universities. Around the world, in public, we have a lot of bureaucracy, and also an unlimited power of the principal. That means our chief has unlimited power, and for this reason, he or she action and make decision only if are good for them. Okay, the next. Dispersal of responsibility. When we have disaster, we have crisis. We have first citizen attitude towards risk. That is very, very important. And also we have here a lot of example. You have seen what is happened nowadays in United States of America, because citizens take risk and take attitude contra racism. What is happened last year in France, in Paris? What very difficult. Second, the organizational change as a result of decision-making process. Nowadays, organizations are pushed to be changed and to reconstruct, to digitize, and for this reason is very important. We have ambiguity between different actors at the individual level, and also several contradictory sources of information. The last problem is very important because we have mass media that supply us with many contradictory information. In Romania, for example, if I see on TV a news on some TV set, it's positive. In the other program, it's negative, and the other is neutral. And for this reason, it's very difficult to judge what is important and what is real from this information. We have also an ethical attitude that is very important. A large number of people has refused disaster. That is laxity, and for this reason, it's not so good to use this. The other, people who have taken the risk to work in a contaminated environment during disaster. And also the efficacy of organization depends on their rapidity to adapt to the new dramatic situation. This is a survive organization, only that are very quickly possible to adapt to the new situation. We have also a normative answer points from real life. We have crisis and chaos that is today. We have new social justice. We have solidarity and fundamental rights that are also important. We have competitive and social and market economy. We have quality of life, high level of protection, human health and environment. We have also here real life, that between real life and crisis and chaos, we have ethical barrier. That is very important. Reason for failure of strategy in real life. Why we fail? Why we don't realize and we don't achieve our goals? Because we have lack of knowledge. We have disaster took by surprise, both people and decision maker. Leadership attitude, it's controversial one. And level of experience of persons that make decision, it's very important. The other reasons, we have inadequate procedure related to the outcome. And we have seen in our life and nowadays during pandemic crisis that the procedure fail to achieve the goal. Failure to follow the ethical norms. Technical and human failure due to inadequate understanding of decision-making process. And the last is the culture, because like India and in the other culture, we have many culture, many cults and many people from different culture. And for this reason, it's very difficult to put together all these cultures and to arrive common purpose. In conclusion, dissipation of responsibility generate waste of knowledge and also death, people and organization, because even it's a disaster, even it's war, even it's pandemic crisis, always when we waste knowledge, we waste people and also organization. All, this reason is it's because we have artificial barrier formal regulation is a relationship that conduct management of disaster. I have some recommendations. We need to increase the relationship between all these elements, trust, risk, ethical, and transparency. We need to promote our social justice and sustainable development as principle of our own life, not only organization and only at a family level. And also to have a high aversion to the risk and to thinking about how dispersal of responsibility affects the current international landscape. Thank you for your attention. If you have some question. If you have some question. I'm here for your question.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We all are elated by your speech. It was a very gracious speech given by you.
Thank you very much for invitation. And I hope to,
Please close
to
your
understand
host.
what it's.
Please change your host.
And to see you with other occasion. Namaste.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your speech. Now I'd like to call Mr. Asanga Madhusuhan Seniviranta. He's an enthusiastic and energetic young man who completed his master's degree in cultural diplomacy and international relations from BOII. He's working as an international relations officer and Asian African Association for Women, Gender and Sexuality in Sri Lanka. Over to you, sir, Mr. Asanga.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you can hear me very well. So, first of all, would like to thank you, the Adina College of Education, offering me this valuable opportunity. So, it's really happy to meet everybody, and discuss to be a part of this valuable discussion as well. So, I really would opt to share my presentation. So, I think I am possible to share my screen. I hope everybody could see my screen. So This movement is discussed too about the role and responsibilities of the professionals toward the peace. So as the peace is one of the best technical for survival of this world. So without the peace, nothing is impossible. I think it would most probably be correct, because other than that, so the place where we cannot find the peace is really would be the trouble, and it is hard to move on that. First of all, so I really would like to recognize the professional. So I think that is so heterogeneous sections, as the diverse of fields would compose there. So kind of academic people, so engineers, scientific people, technicians, other than that corporate sector, industry people, so everybody would acting in their respective field, and we really can identify them as professional individuals. So as the 20th century is called as the century of war, so it's really hard experience we all have received for the last few decades. So now we are just at the edge of actually the beginning of the 21st century. So which is the really controversial as well. So once comparing to the 20th century, that would really cause for the many of resolutions, which is in international arena and also the regional arena as well. The resolutions passed especially regarding the peace as well. So as the peace and the war, we can identify it as the edged all the issues, which is really really competitive thing. So the international organizations opt to have resolutions. The best examples, the resolution number 217, which is passed by the General Assembly of the United Nations. So according to the preamble, so we really have to find the peace and its behind the mechanism. So the preamble shows that the recognitions of the inherent dignity and of the equality and inalienable rights of all members of the human family. So it's the foundation of the freedom, justice, and the peace in the world. So as the place where implement the policy making, so the United Nations already has declared this resolution. So as the every state in the world respect to the nation, the United Nations, so everybody has to agree this resolution. So and every people who representing the nations have implemented these resolutions among their nations. So examples, the world, actually the international arena as the arena where everything is interconnected. So and also the interconnectedness comes first. So everything depends on attitudes of the professionals. So as an example, at the beginning of the 20th century, there were many associations based on the chemical sciences, biosciences, and the weapons. So in currently, so we can move up from that physical productions. Now currently we are just moving to having the associations like social sciences, so maybe some association on sports, or some association on researcher, something like that, which is we can really identify that the world has moved the place where they give to the where they give and where they give priority to the human rights instead of the physical power. So that's why we really can find this kind of association. So what are the professional society's responsibilities toward the peace? So I'm talking here on based on the triangular concept. So we can here find out the triangular concept like three kind of societies we could find in this arena. So one could be the first one, as I mentioned before, the United Nations. So and also the WHO. So they belong to the place where they deliver the policymaker to the world. So what they have really to do, the professionals, those in high professionals in these kind of places, really have to convince the government. So and also the higher body to tolerance and also to maintain the peace of the world. So that is the responsibility of the higher places like that, where they're implementing the policymakers. So the other kind of place is the places we can identify the international organizations, those most probably based on the non-profit organizations. So they also have rights to promote the tolerance, promote the peace, and also to bring their implementation to the world. So finally, the people, those who are working in the corporate sector. So here I'm giving as an example the International Institute of Knowledge Management, and corporate sector and the industry sector, the place where highest number of professionalism categories can be identified. So they also have the roles to play and implement their roles and bring the peace to the world. So in the finally, so we really have to respect every people. So that is the, as an professional person, so you really have to be make aware regarding everybody, and as an interconnectedness, you have to focus yourself into the other field as well. It may be a very rural area, it may be very urban area, or it really may be very academic and educated area. So as a professional people, we really have to think the interconnectedness, and we really have to communicate in mutual understanding. So I hope having a good idea about global platform really would be the one of the responsibility of the professional. So what professional societies and what professional individuals can do to promote the peace? So there should be many events here. I think I think I'm here presenting. So I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I think I cannot. Yeah, it's fine now. So yes. So these kind of I think I'm trying to move into the next slide. Okay, so in practice of these kind of events, we really need to implement as a role of responsibility of the professional to promote the tolerance and the peace. So the conference, the multidisciplinary conference, can be organized by these every associations and all the professional teams and groups as well. So the international conference and regional conference both are really important. So that would make a platform where everybody from every corner of the world getting together and share their ideas. So then the place where you really can understand everybody, and you really can share your ideas with people, and you really have to learn about the new things from their societies. So the formal courses can be offered to the young generation. So where you really have to, the professional associations really have to add these special points to how to promote the peace and tolerance, and they really have to offer these courses to young people, those are full of thirst of to be educated. So the industry-oriented program can be created among these professionals. So where you really have to bring every people to the same place. Other than that, the workshops and webinars. An example, this webinar also could be really a good occasion for all of us to have discussed about their ideas and discuss insights of every places of the world. So the CSR projects can be done from the industry and corporate sector, and also the governments and other international associations have to really have to assist and really have to promote like corporate sectors CSR projects as well. So I am really moving to up to another thing which is really important topic, the youth and child. So this would be the future of the world. So even you're not convinced in those particular fields, if we are going to ignore this field, that really would not make sense, you know. So in a decade, in 2 decades, these are people, those are in our youth and children, so they will be the world. So we really have to convince that people, the communities, the youth and child, as these communities are really myriad and heterogeneous. So by gender, maybe by the gender, maybe apart from the religions, or maybe from the society, or the maybe the level of profession. That is why I'm telling the youth and child of heterogeneous as and the best example. So the one thing happened a couple of months ago in the last year in Australia. The small children, I think, who falls on Down syndrome, were bullied from their colleges, from their youth, from their children's age. So even the Australia, as the developed country in the world, the incidents already reported from that country as well. So even we are considering the society of Australia really high to promote the peace, and New Zealand as well. But such incidents also reported what learned for us to really mean. So we really have to convince the communities in qualitative way. It's not in some quantitative way. We just really have to smoothly convince youth and children. So the exclusion and marginalization and also the dependency can be identified as the few of categories where make sense and where make violence in this community, the youth and children community. As professionals, what we really have to do to overcome these issues. So that depends on the level of your profession, as I mentioned before. So in very grassroots level, what you really have to do, so promote the peace and promote the tolerance in your family, so in your neighbors. So that is how you really have to learn. You really have to teach the community where you engage, the youth community where you engage in your family or the place where you live. So then you really have to convince these people, the people that the importance of the community, importance of the tolerance and the peace. So where you come from, Africa, or maybe you come from Asia, maybe you're coming from the Europe, it doesn't matter. So because we all live in the same world. So that is what we really have to focus as a profession. So, and also as the people hold the code of ethics and standard, we really have to convince the level of like uneducated communities, and also the above mentioned communities as well. So the youth is really it really would be a controversial community. So the professions also can be found in this field. So some people in the youth behave like mediators, some behave like community mobilizers, some also are in the humanitarian work and peace builders as well. So the international associations and also international organizations have to give chances to youth people to some kind of practices to be take part in some international events. As an example, so the Turkey in every year conducts the international activation program, which is based on the global peace. They already host to 70 to 80 international delegates to come to their country from the other world, from the other countries across the world. So what they really have to do, so they let them to be in such a one place for 2 weeks. So that delegates are from different kind of cultures, different kind of religions, and different kind of education levels. So where they really have to opt to try to give the community the message that how we can live together with other people, those who are really different from us. So that is, you really have to teach how to respect each other and how to share their ideas, and how sometimes to get tolerate from their some kind of the weird insights. So the other one is the best example. What I can do is some associations could promote some international organizations based on children and youth and some kind of the women and gender studies. So this is the place where you really can through international exposure. So where you really meet some people from around the world. And this is, you really have earned kind of knowledgeable places across the world. So as a professional, you really have to bear and you really have to respect other people as well. So as an example, today is a really important day for such kind of a community. I will mention here that is the LGBTQ community. So because of they have received the first head of state and the first prime minister along to be take part their pride. So the Jacinda Ardern, the prime minister of the New Zealand, what she has done is she engaged to their pride, which happened today or yesterday in New Zealand. So she has worked together with them. So what the top level people here are trying to focus that even she's the head of his state and she's the really top management level in the state. So what she is telling, so don't discriminate any people. So don't marginalize any kind of people. If there is nothing something bad from themselves to you, so please try to respect them and please try to be with them. So and also I'm also going to conclude my presentation. So which I also mentioned here as a professional person. So as a person who engage in this in each field. So what you really have to do prioritize your positive attitudes internationally, and also please try to keep your consciousness on what happened around the world. So as I know the much of majority of the professionals, just maybe 90% plus professionals just only focus what they are doing. So in their respective fields, even they don't have any idea what is going on in their country or in international arena. So they just focus themselves, and finally they only be just like they have completed only their enabled duties from their respective associations, but they are not really completed something as a human. So, but what I am mentioning here that finally what we have to do as a role of responsibility of the professionals in the world, we really have to be a human first. So then please make you convinced, prioritize your consciousness, what is happening in the world, and also try to understand the mutual, try to get a mutual understanding, and please try to interconnectedness forever. So I think as a professional, what we can do. So thank you for your attention. So if you have any queries or questions, this is the time to pause me.
Thank you so much, sir. We all are glorified by your speech of discrimination and diversity. Now I'd like to call Dr. Fozia Fatima. She's an assistant professor in Department of Humanities. She's also in Education and Psychology, Faculty of Social Science and AIR, Islamabad, Pakistan. She got silver medal award in Masters of Science Education. She's a member of editorial board of Regional Psychologist Board USA. Over to you, Fatima ma'am.
Hello. दिख रही है बीच में दो दिन पहले खा दिख रही है एक चेंज करो पेज ये रही है कहीं ना यार क्या लगे यार Please unmute yourself.
सकती हैं यहाँ पर अपने यहाँ से जब तक अपन ना करेंगे या कहिए बोलिए बोलो करो उनमें
Okay, thank you so much. After the unmuting me, first of all, I'm kindly give me the access to my both ID because in one ID I have a webcam issue and within this through mobile, I have to be online live. So kindly, I have joined this webinar through two IDs. So give me the access on my both IDs. Then I will share my PPT with all of you. Okay. If you have not given me the access, then I'm going to start my presentation. Basically, first of all, thank you everyone to give me this opportunity where I'm going to speak one of my project that is entitled as Association between Human Rights and Their Inner Strength. As the host has been introduced myself, that I'm Dr. Fauzia Fatima from Pakistan. I'm an assistant professor in Air University of Islamabad, Pakistan. So this session that has been based on the tolerance and peace. So I'm not checking your peace and tolerance within this live session. So I keep my talk very precise and very short. So within these projects that I have shared with you, is basically related with the tolerance. And as you know, that tolerance is giving to every other human beings every right that you claim for yourselves. So by keeping in view this quote, you must keep in mind that in the context of Asia, human perceptions about the knowledge of their rights are uneven, because they feel opposing degree of the belief across their expression of the rights and its implication with their daily lives. However, as you know that we are belong to the Asian countries, and our every single statute and the parameter of Asian countries or the constitutional or the legislation department is under the control of the custom and the tradition of the society. So the human rights are also very affected by this type of the terms and conditions of our society and the customs, that we are belongs to different religion and as well as some different race and ethnic group as well. So by keeping in view this rationale, so I have formulated a problem that how the peoples are knowing about their rights and how their inner strengths are related with their human rights. But whenever we have to go go through different literature review, then we have to find out that there are basically 18 parameters which are directly related with the humans. Either you are a man or a woman, you both are related with these 18 parameters. And within these 18 parameters, the 10 parameters are those parameters within which both man and women are equal in the same scenario, while there are some 8 parameters within which, on the basis of some biological and emotional perspective, women have some little bit rights as compared to the man, just because of some certain conditions. So as you know that these 18 parameters include like what are the position of authority, right of the traits, divorce, blood money, inheritance, evidence of the women's, polygamy, hijab, promotion of the goods and elimination of the evils, the right to the custody of the children, women guarantees in the war is acceptable or not, freedom of the partner, freedom to choose the partner, participation in the war, freedom to express your opinion, the right to own wealth of the property, charitable acts, worship, and education. So these 18 parameters are basically related with the human rights. And either you are belong to any type of the group that is relevant to your religion. So you must keep in mind that you have to aware about your constitutional as well as the religious rights. So whenever we are, I have conducted a survey in the context of Pakistan. So we have to find out that there are some from these 18 parameters, some parameters from some parameters the peoples are not generally show high degree of their inner strength, like whenever the right of the trade or the seeks other employment, right of divorce, blood money, inheritance, right of evidence. These are those parameters where the inner strength of the peoples are not strongly positive, like they are not showing too much positive towards these rights, because they are saying that these rights are directly affected by the custom and tradition of their society or whatever they are belongs to the religion. So while there are some parameters where they are highly agreed that they have and their inner strength is very positive, like the right of the authority, promotion of the good and elimination, freedom to choose the partner, charitable acts, worships, and the right of the education. So these are the parameters where the man and women both are agree that they are strongly believe that they have the strength to take out these rights from their society. And so by this survey that I have conducted in the context of Pakistan, we have to find out that there is a very strong relationship between human rights and their inner strength. So whenever the peoples are aware about their rights, or whenever they are believe on themselves that they can take out their right from their society, so they can be a very strong person of their society, and they are acting a very peaceful and tolerative persons within their society. So this study that I have conducted in the context of Pakistan, you may also conduct in your own context and find out that which type of the rights are easily accessible in your society, and what type of the rights over which you have to be work out. So firstly, you have to believe in yourself that you have an ability, you have a capacity to take out your rights by your government, by your religion, by yourselves. But the first thing that must be related with yourself, that you show your tolerance. Don't be act in a very hesitate manner, in a very hyper manner, in a very fastly way, because your tolerance is not your weakness, it's a strength. So make your tolerance as your strength, and make it connection with your inner self. Whenever your inner self belief is strong, then you can easily access your rights from your society. So I have ended my presentation in this way. The education that you have taken from your organization is the basically related to teach you the tolerance, that you should learn that how to tolerate the other peoples. So I have wind up this whole discussion with this precise conclusion that your inner strength is directly related with your rights. So thank you so much. I hope I have not taken too much time from all of you. And this is one of the live experience of giving, showing my tolerance to all of you. And you have also, I hope, easily tolerate me. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you so much. I have wind up my talk.
Thank you, Dr. Fauziya.
Thank you, organizing committee. I have not
Dr.
properly
N.K.
what was the name of.
Dr. N.K. Sharma is here. Dr. N.K. Sharma is here. Thank you for
Okay.
delivering your prestigious speech. Thanks to, again, thanks very much. Next,
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Yashodhara Sharma. She is an esteemed personality in the field of establishing quality in higher education. She has her own kind of dignity in the entire range of Bundelkhand University of Jhansi. At present, Dr. Sharma is working as a professor and coordinator in Internal Quality Assurance Cell, IQAC, Bundelkhand University of Jhansi. Over to you, Dr. Yashodhara Sharma, ma'am. Are you there, ma'am? Dr. Yashodhara Sharma. I guess she's not present right now with us, so I'd like to call next Dr. Vaibhav Bhandari. He's a young, enthusiastic, dynamic member of JJ Group of hospitals in Mumbai. He is playing a useful role for the awareness of society towards infections of COVID-19. Are you there, Dr. Vaibhav Bhandari? Dr. Vaibhav Bhandari, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Please continue.
Okay. Am I visible now? Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Respected Chief Guest, Honorable Vice Chancellors, respected dignitaries from Adinath College of Education, respected dignitaries of webinar, respected seniors, respected fellow speakers, and all the participants. I am Dr. Vaibhav Bhandari. I am completed my MBBS from Grant Medical College in Sir JJ Group of Hospitals, Mumbai, and I'm currently working there. I've been selected to pursue post-graduation in DNP medicine at Nanavati Hospital, Mumbai, where I'll be joining shortly. First of all, I would like to convey my sincere gratitude to Dr. N.K. Sharma, Principal and Convener, Adinath College of Education, for bestowing me with this amazing opportunity to share my views on the topic of moral duties of society in war against disaster. Thank you so much, sir. I hope I stand up to your expectations. Though I haven't made any PPT, but I'm sure my points will be easily and explainable to everyone. So I would like to start with the theme of today's webinar, tolerance and peace. How can we define tolerance? It is a moral obligation which makes it possible for conflicting beliefs, values, and ideas to coexist as long as they fit within acceptable values. Once you lose tolerance, there will be birth of anger, hatred, anxiety, revolts, etc., eventually leading to dissolution of peace in the society. And hence, once peace is hampered, social structures fall. Tolerance and peace are an innate part of social responsibility, which brings me to my topic today. To start with, what is society? Society is a group of individuals who have organized themselves and follow a given way of life. As said by Aristotle once, a man who can live without society is either a beast or a god. An individual is the elementary unit of society. Therefore, any duty or responsibility of a society starts from a single individual. Moving on to disaster, it has been defined by the World Health Organization as any occurrence that causes damage, ecological disruption, loss of human life, or deterioration of health and health services on a scale sufficient to warrant an extraordinary response. I'm going to be more specific with the current disaster we are facing, that is the COVID-19 pandemic. This disease is originated in a city of China, and today, majority of countries are battling this vicious virus. Whether it be any form of disaster, earthquakes, floods, cyclones, or a pandemic, there's a defined sequence of management for a disaster. It consists of preparedness for disaster, that is known as pre-disaster phase, and response to a disaster, which is known as post-disaster phase. Well, we all know why response is required. Obviously, to bring everything back to normal. But my question is, why is preparedness required? I think it's because it's easier to stamp out a spark than a forest fire. And if we look from society point of view, the preparedness is necessary because members of the community have the most to lose from being vulnerable to disaster and most to gain from an effective and appropriate emergency preparedness. I remember a famous line from the book Inferno, written by Dan Brown, that the darkest hell is are reserved for those, I repeat, the darkest place in hell are reserved for those who maintain their neutrality in the time of moral crisis. As a society or an individual, though we have uncountable responsibilities, but we can divide them into three distinct components. First, moral duty towards the country. Second, moral duty towards fellow individual. Third, moral duty towards your own self. Now, as we are in the middle of an epidemic, let's talk about all these in the sense of response and preparedness. My following points will be divided into two major criteria, response and preparedness, and further subsections of moral duty towards country, towards fellow individual, and towards your own self. Let's talk about the response first. We are always to be told, we are always taught to be civilized, right? Which means following the norms of culture, government, or local law enforcement body. And with this comes the first duty, that is duty towards our own country. I have seen people sitting on their bed, having popcorn, watching news, and criticizing everything they see. Though irony is, they themselves don't follow the rules laid down for public safety. For instance, in India, the lockdown has been put for all 3 months. Now, The incubation period of COVID virus is 2 days to 2 weeks. Had the lockdown been followed very strictly, it shouldn't have taken more than 21 days to make ourselves free from it. Remember, a country stands on four basic pillars: first, government; second, media; third, court; and fourth, we, the people. Everyone has their own responsibility towards the system or the country in general. As a part of society, I expect few things from my fellow human beings during disaster. Firstly, follow the guidelines and rules made by your own government. Don't give reasons that nothing will happen to you. It's a virus. It just sees you as a human and attacks your body. Secondly, criticism makes the system healthy, but do it only and only when you are thorough with the subject. Thirdly, doctor and healthcare system is an integral part of disaster management, and it takes a huge deal to become one. Please, I request, please let us not understand ourselves, doctor or healthcare personnel, by reading few WhatsApp forwards and social platform messages unless they are authentic. I am being straightforward here. Trust the doctors. Recently, a doctor got beaten up in Gandhi Hospital by relatives of a patient who died due to COVID-19. Understand this: we are not God. We do the best to save lives. We apply every ounce of knowledge and skill in our hands, and we stay away from our families to serve the society. Intolerance and rage won't bring any of the person back, but it will destroy the morale of doctors for sure. Next, in the subsection, few duties to remember towards fellow individual are: first, we should not turn our back from the needy ones. We should all follow what Louis Blanc principle said: from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. Local vendors, shopkeepers, daily wage workers, shift workers, homeless people, and beggars, they suffer the most during calamities. And it is our duty to help them as much as possible at individual level. Third, if there is even one person in your life who follows you or take your words by action, I think it is your moral responsibility to spread the correct information and correctly choose your words. Spreading half or wrong information can cause huge damage. We do have duties to pursue for our own self too, as I said earlier, listing them in the subsection of responsibility. Firstly, most important is mental health. Our understanding power and functional capacity decreases with a low mental health, and this epidemic is a testing time. As a human being, we have got an exceptional quality that we can communicate. So talk with your close ones. A person smoking cannot, or should I say, should not teach about hazards of smoking. What I mean by this statement is preach what you follow and practice what you preach. Thirdly, as a doctor, many times I have seen people coming at the end stage to the hospital where we can't do much about it. So, as a citizen, I think it's our responsibility to show up on time. This was the first subsection of response and the responsibility of a society for the country, for the fellow individual, and for your own self. Now, moving on to preparedness, I would like to put up some questions first. Wasn't this pandemic expected after the pandemic of Spanish flu in 1918? Couldn't we have strengthened our healthcare system while expecting someday something might go wrong? In Indian scenario, doctor is to population ratio is 1 is to 1,445, which should have been 1 is to 1,000 according to WHO. Disaster is always unexpected. It is our preparedness which tells us whether a hazard will convert into a disaster or not. Now, coming to the responsibilities in the sense of preparedness, towards country, my responsibility is to question about things which are going wrong, to ask the government why things are not up to the mark. We do spend on army to be ready for any war in the future. Then why not about health? Remember this: questioning the ways help in exploring the uncharted paths always. Towards the fellow social beings or fellow individuals, the utmost responsibility is to make sure that we all are almost on the same page to fight against a disease or disaster. If we fail any single person on the basis of hunger, poverty, or homelessness, we have failed as a society in whole. Towards ourselves, first thing is to keep ourselves updated. Bad time don't pull out the side coming. It is us who should be prepared to face the hardships. Now, while writing these points, I thought if we actually know all the arguments I stated above, then what else are the fields where we are lacking? The first thing which comes in my mind is learning objective. I have seen people talking about sanitization or wearing masks, but I don't see them practicing it. So they have the knowledge, but what they lack is the action. So what do we require to convert a knowledge into an action? There are two most important things for that: a motive and practice. What can be a better motive to wash hands if we know about death tolls by COVID? And about practice, well, yes, let's give ourselves some time for it. Second thought which comes in mind is effect of cultural factors in fighting with the disease. These customs can sometimes act as barricade in a war. For example, considering everything as a supernatural cause and that it is God's wrath upon them. And this results in prevention of treatment and increase in contact cases. Recently, I've seen a news that Baba kissing hand to heal others from corona himself dies, and 29 people found positive in his close contacts and followers. So this was the person who was considering COVID-19 as a supernatural cause. Secondly, considering the disease as punishment of past sins. Third, drinking hot water or herbal kada will treat the patient, though none of the studies have proven this yet. But if we should speak about it, sometimes customs may be helpful too. For example, customs of having baths twice a day or washing hands before eating after entering the house, having immunity boosting foods in our meals like fruits and turmeric, or practice of greeting with namaste rather than shaking hands. These all are the customs which are helpful in fighting with the disease too. So all of these factors play an important role in deciding our actions, changing our beliefs, acknowledging our morals, and performing our duties. We don't need to see everything from the perspective of general belief present in society. We have the power to dig deep and form our own perspective to look at a particular situation. Let's do that, and we can surely make the world a better place. Now, I would like to end my part with a quote from a movie, The Breaking Point. It is not the end of life. We are not dead. We have fallen, but we'll stand again, face it again, and we'll win again. And with the win, additionally, we will grow up and become better form of ourselves. Period. Thank you all for listening to me so patiently. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bhandari, for your parental speech on COVID-19. We all are delighted by that. Now I'd like to call Dr. Joyce Aigukan. Joyce basically belongs to Nigeria, West Africa. She's an IT professional who's working in the field of higher and technical education in Nigeria and USA. Over to you, Dr. Joyce.
Okay, hello everyone. So today I'm going to be talking about teaching and promoting tolerance. So the need for a clear and practical definition is actually needed. So in recent years, schools have given an increasing amount of attention to issues surrounding diversity tolerance. Character education courses, multicultural materials, and even health curriculums wave the theme of tolerance through their lessons. Incidents such as the Charlottesville White National Rally or the South Carolina church shooting by white supremacists delaying Ruth Troke us into the reality that hate motivates crimes is still alive in America. Why some people use this strategy to create the appearance of crisis largely for political reasons. It must be pointed out that incidents of hate crime are relatively rare. For example, shows that there are 6,121 hate crimes in 2016. However, in 2016, there were an estimated 803,000 aggravated assaults. 121 is only 0.076% of all 800 aggravated assault. Of course, the occurrences is little consolations to the victims. Clearly, we are not a nation of bigots or haters, though the spotlight put a certain incident might make it appear that way. The need for tolerance is not because of the epidemic of hate crime, but because of the much more monitored and daily social interaction that require treating it with respect and dignity. It is in this interaction where educators deal with intolerance most frequently. hallways assault, outbursts, small dismissal, or other viewpoints during class discussions. Not only do educators deal with this type of social interaction among students, they too are tested in their intolerance for student clothing, hairstyles, body piercing, attitude, moral, and behavior. So this brings me back to the definition of tolerance. So when some use the word tolerance, they mean the first definition you find in a dictionary, recognition of and respect of opinion, practice or behavior of others. However, it's important to understand that there is respect here means not veneration, but valence of interest. Without this clarification, the definition of intolerance of tolerance comes to be viewed as a gushing acceptance of just about everything someone says or does. Some go so far as define tolerance as the embracing and celebration of opinions, practice, or behavior of others. So many educators and parents preach to the moral relativities of this approach, yet they feel boxed in their current talk of tolerance, run the risk of being accused of advocating bigotry, intolerance, and even hate. This is because on the most open-ended of tolerance have stakes out the playing field by defining the terminology, pressure they get placed on colleagues or students to adopt their view of tolerance. To resist is to appear intolerant. So tolerance requires virtual. Tolerance in and of itself is not virtual. If a student tolerates drinking and driving, his tolerance is not virtual. Tolerance is neutral, you know. Tolerance derives its value from what is the student tolerant and the manner in which the student expresses tolerance and intolerance. This involves his characters. So when a student uses a racial slur, his problem is not lack of tolerance, but a lack of kindness and a problem with pride. The root believes in racial superiorities. When a student makes fun of a classmate's point of view during a class discussion, his problem isn't lack of tolerance, but lack of courtesy, which one student spit. So when one student spit on another student, because of think of his schoolmate is gay or something, tolerance isn't the issue so much as it's self-control. Proper tolerance is outgrown of moral character qualities such as kindness, patience, courtesy, humility, love, self-control, courage, even intolerance should be expressed through these qualities, you know. Students need to be taught that tolerance arises from characters. If they don't understand this, then they will think they are, being tolerant when they are actually only expressing indifference, whatever, or apathy, or care, or who cares, or even recklessness. Why not? Improper thoughts, intolerance, intolerant education can lead to of its proper conviction. Tolerance requires tolerance means accepting everyone's idea and behaving is impractical or in a real world. Sounds nice in classroom, discussion in school, board, declaration, the hallway. Find a more practical definition of tolerance in a dictionary, second definition of the terms, the allowable variations. For instance, an engineer might ask about the tolerance of a metal beam. How far should it bend before serious structural damage is done? This definition is when we must commonly leave. We establish a standard of what we think is best, even if somewhat vague. We then establish an allowable variation by their standard, often more vague. Then we judge the idea and actions of others based on what they have established. This is as it should be. To do otherwise is to invite social and moral action. The problem for many people isn't intolerance, it is in not clearly define their standard. Even so, we establish standard in hundreds, even thousands of categories. For example, the First Amendment states that American has a right to peacefully assemble and petition their government. In other words, to protect something offensive words may be said and even annoying actions may take place. Though offensive to some, these actions are still legally tolerable. What is illegal, intolerable is when actions become violent and the properties of others is stolen or damaged. Within the school setting, the definition of tolerance is applied in many places. Dress codes, pants are allowed, but not hot pants. Hallway conduct, conversation between boys and girls is allowed, but not sexual harassment, And classmate participation. Students may not have the participants in discussion, but they can fall asleep. So this practical definition is valuable for classroom instruction because it honors students' moral frameworks, development by their religions, education, and family, rather than teach them that tolerance is best demonstrated by an absence of judgment. It teaches that tolerance requires making judgment first, establish a standard, and second, establish a limit of the allowable variation. If students aren't taught to clearly establish their standards and allowable variation, they will struggle with what to tolerate. In frustration, they may simply jump to the sophomore view that they would just accept everything. This doesn't require hard thinking, and yet they had the appearance of taking the moral high grounds. So may raise the concern that making judgment will only add to someone's existing prejudices. There are two reasons why this doesn't have to be. First, as we have seen, the reality is that this is the way tolerance really works. So the best course of action is to help students think deeply about their standards. Secondly, no matter what those standards are, they should act vigorously towards anyone who varies from those standards. Ironically, educators can create more tolerant school climates by focusing not on tolerance, but on character. Overcome tolerance cannot therefore be defined as a universal good, and many of its applicants and users remain contents. Toleration might signify not more than forbearance and permission given by the affluence of dominant religions from other religions or to exist, even though the later of looks on this disapproval as interferes into mistaken or harmful. Historical most incidents are writing pertinent to tolerance involve the status of minority and dissenting viewpoints in relation to the Dominican state religion. However, religion is also psychological and practical of tolerations. Always has a political aspect as well. Tolerations assume that there is a conflict over something important, something that cannot otherwise be resolved through normal negotiation without resorting to war or violence. As political lecturer Harionel Mikano explains, comes to questions like what is the best way to live, the right thing to think, political society, or the true road to salvation. No amount of negotiation and bargaining will bring them to agreement without at least one party reclaiming to committing the created by conflicts in the first place. Such conflicts provide the circumstance of tolerance and endemic in society. The urgency and relevance of this issue is only too obvious. Without tolerance, community that value diversity, equality, and peace could not persist. An overview of this history of tolerance and different culture in which tolerance has been practiced and the way in which such predominant concept has developed into a guiding one. Illuminates its contemporary, such as political, social, religion, and epic applying to LGBT, individual, and other minorities, and other connect concepts such as human rights. So in my request to your dignitaries and participate of this webinar, always behave good with others and give proper respect to each and every person. It will be a lesson for enhance the tolerance in the human society. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, that's all. So any question?
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your delightful speech on discrimination and World Health. We all are elated. Now I'd like to call Mr. S.K. Kaushik. He is an enthusiastic Indian who has got his highest achievement in the field of science and technology in USA. He started his career from teaching in University of Minnesota, USA, and at present he's working in the senior technical architect in world's reputed industry of ET&T. Over to you, SK, sir.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Okay, sir, okay.
All right. Respected Governor, Director, Principal, esteemed speakers, and all the faculty, staff, and students. Good evening to all of you. I've been listening to some of these talks and they are really wonderful. These are reflections of the minds of the people and the times which we are living in. While I was listening to them, every talk provoked one thought or the other. At the end of the day, we all crave for living in a peaceful society. At the end of the day, everybody wants to go home, stay happy, raise their family, and live a good life, right? That's what it really boils down to. So I will like to talk about some of those things and what we need to do in order to get to that point, and where are we missing our goals here. Some of the things which we do every day, they may just need to be tweaked a little bit. They may need to be adjusted a little bit to set the course for all of us. Then in all of this, don't get me wrong, but we are together. There is no individual here. There is no one country here or one group or one community here. Everybody is in the same boat, and perfect example which you see today is what we are going through right now. Regardless of where COVID-19 occurred, the whole globe is going through the same pandemic phenomena, which we need to overcome together, right? Consider all of those facts and then think that this is the time when all of us needs to come together and sign off on some of the common things which we need to do. And what we are asking is not something huge, which nobody ever have thought about. People have been living this all along. It's just that somewhere this message got lost. So let me jump into some of the things which I wanted to cover, and then we can talk more after the presentation. So, I mean, I heard the definitions also articulated very well in these presentations, and we all agree. And I would just like to rephrase a little bit with paraphrasing it. Tolerance in its core is the ability or willingness to tolerate something, in particular, the existence of opinions and behavior, which you may not be agreeing with. This could be two people, this could be two groups, these could be two countries for that matter, and these could be any group of society. Everybody understands each other, but they don't want to agree on something which is common. That's a classic problem which we see every day. And believe me, if you pick up your day today's schedule and you have seen that, oh, what did I 10 things which I did today? Out of those 10 things, you will see, oh, in these 2 things we could have done better. Just because we didn't agree on something, or just because I didn't learn the perspective of the person in front of me, I couldn't follow what the person was saying, or I didn't like the way the person was saying. So some of those things are really basic to human nature. And as I started the talk with, that at the end of the day, everybody wants to live peacefully and with harmony. So where did we get it wrong? At the core of it, again, it really goes back to what is my like and what is my dislike? What are my stereotypes, which I'm being raised with? What I'm looking in the society around me, that which I'm okay with and I'm not okay with? What is the world around me is behaving? How is the world around me is behaving with me? And then I started reflecting. Then I started adjusting. When you grow, when you are born, why always everybody says that you are pure? At that point in time, you don't have any prejudices. You don't have any inclinations. You don't have any quotient of likes and dislikes. That's the reason you are closest to the truth at that phase of your life. Now what happens? After that, the growing up happens. You start to grow. Once you start to grow, people around you make sure that you grow in a way, the way they think it right. That's the first step, which all of us needs to explore about within ourselves. How are we doing this with our kids? How are we teaching this in our schools? Everybody has the same problem. As a teacher, as an academician, as the intellectual, all of us here, and we have a huge group here, and I'm guessing that there are a variety of different talents here listening to these talks. We have students here. All of us has this responsibility of handling our compass properly. What is this compass about? This compass is our moral compass. Somewhere, while we are growing up, we picked up the things which we should not have picked up. And everybody said that, this is the right way of doing it. And we said, fine, if this is the right way of doing it, then we will take it, we'll pick it. And as a kid, you don't know what is right and what is wrong. Parents teach the kid that, hey, this is the way you need to do this. This is the way that you need to behave. This is the way you need to act. Those things, most of the time, are, according to the parents or according to the teachers, is for the good of the kid. They want child to behave good in the society. They want child to be respectful in the society, and the child should live a good life in the society. So everybody wants to, but in this process, we always forget that we may be unconsciously imposing our biases onto the kids. And that's where this whole thing starts. And by the time we realize that, hey, what happened and what is right and what is wrong, we have already picked up so many things you can't fix in one day. And that is the key to this problem, right? So being tolerant is good. Everybody understands it. If I ask you that, raise your hand. If you like this statement, everybody would raise the hand, I'm pretty sure. So if everybody wants to go towards the same goal, what is preventing us then, right? As a society, we are going through some unique times. And some of these times, everybody tends to go together. When you have a challenge, when you have a problem, when you have some issue for the society, for the world, the psychology says that, everybody would tend to come together and try to solve that problem and try to help each other, etc. And that's true. And that is how it should be. My point is, what happens when, do we need a pandemic to come together? Do we need a global war to come together? Do we need a war in a country to come together? Why we have reserved some of these things for the times when something really grim happens, and then we come together and help each other. It should be our everyday exercise. When we wake up, that is the moment when you have to start being positive. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you should do, and everybody should do, is to thank you for the stuff that you have. Thank you for the things which you have. Thank you for what God has given everybody, which everybody should be privileged. And at this point, I remember my primary schooling and the high schooling happened in India. And I was taking the Central Board of Secondary Education, CBSE classes. So in our school, the first page of that book, and every book for that syllabus, was a talisman from Mahatma Gandhi. And when I say talisman from Mahatma Gandhi, and it really said that whenever you think of something that, hey, this is the end of the world for me. I mean, what I should be grateful for. I don't have anything to be grateful for. This is the worst day of my life, and I am the worst person and the last person on this planet, and everything is happening to me is wrong. And everybody else is enjoying around me. Mahatma Gandhi said, think about that person, the worst person, the person who have you seen totally helpless. He could or she could be somebody who may have lost the limb, or may not be able to see, or may have gone through like severe tragedy, or some whatever you have seen. And all of us have seen these kind of incidents which might have occurred to us, that when we for a second we must have been awestruck that, oh, this also can happen to someone. And when that thought comes to your mind, you will automatically start feeling that, I am happy to have my hands, have my legs, have my eyes, have a family, have a place to live. One of the other gentlemen just before me, a couple of talks before, he mentioned that there are people who don't have homes. There are homeless people around us. There are people who don't have families. There are people who don't have parents. There are people who don't have all kinds of things which you can think of. There are 1,000 things in a day you can be grateful for. And you want to prove me wrong? Please prove me wrong. Whenever in the moment, my request is very simple. If you have to make the change, it is not one day it is going to happen. It has to happen now. This very moment, you need to start thinking about that, hey, I keep complaining about my kids. I keep complaining about my family. I keep complaining about my house. I keep complaining about my society. I keep complaining. Open the media and you will see complaints after complaints after complaints. It is endless. And you are totally lost in it. And you're like, hey, what is going on around me? It looks like, this world is going to hell. That's not how it is. There will always be good people around you. That's where you need to start. Where you need to start is that, hey, this is not the end of the world. This is me starting that be positive revolution in your own mind. I want to introspect my own mind first. And this is a very powerful statement. I will repeat that again. The change, and I think somebody said that, and I forget the name. The change is not going to come from that person who you talked to 5 minutes before, or the person who is running some big group or big country. No, this change is going to come from you. People has to go to streets to make their voices heard. When that person realizes that, hey, there's something wrong around me, I need to fix it, then that's when you take off your batons and get to the road. That's what is happening right now also. Point being, the change will always come from you as an individual. And it has to, and it better be. If there are 10 people around you, and all those 10 people are millionaires, what does that give you? If there are 5 kids around you, and then all of those 4 of them have A grades in their classes and their courses, what are you getting out of it? Nothing. So that change has to come from you. So my friends, you have to understand this and start this process in the morning when you wake up. First thing in the day should be that these are the hands which you're going to be using whole day, and you are lucky and you're grateful to have these 50 things which other people don't even have and they just dream of. Right? There are so many people who are dreaming of the things which you already have and which you don't care. And in the whole day, I remember when I was small, little in the school, like primary school sometime. At that time, the car, which today everybody has, by the way, but at that time, that very rarely people will have like 1 or 2, and you can just have. Very few people have it. And at that time, as a kid, I used to think that, oh, I don't have it. He has it. But my point is, those things will always be there for you. You don't want to crave for the things which you don't have. You need to start from the things which you have. And as a child, nobody will teach you this. By the time you get to this realization, it is too late. So who's going to work on it? Only you can work on it. Your teachers can help in this process. Your parents can help in this process. Your folks around, family and friends can help in this process, but you are the one who will be acting on it. At the end of the day, you as an individual is standing for your own actions. And if you don't act it in that moment, to stand up for truth, to stand up for honesty, to stand up for bringing uniformity in the society, harmony in the society, then please don't blame anybody else for that. There will always be people who are talking about all the different things which world has to fix. I get that. But as an individual person, this is our responsibility to make sure that all of these things are taken care of well. I will just summarize in a brief point, that way you have something to remember and something to correlate to, because words makes a good experience in terms of how memory works. And in every situation in your life, it could be you're preparing for your exam. It could be you're preparing for an interview. It could be preparing for some meeting, some boardroom, courtroom, corporate meeting. Any challenge which you are going through, you will always have 2 ways to deal with it. One is either you fight it. You're like, no, I'm not going to give up. I will fight for the truth. I will fight for what I have, and I will fight for what I can do. I will raise up the bar to get up for this challenge. And then the second way you can deal with it is to take a flight. Language of psychology, it is called fight or flight. So either you can fight it or you can take a flight, meaning you can run away from it. You're like, I'm not the person. I'm not going to take this. The first thing which you need to do in this juncture of your life, and everybody goes through these things, and there's nothing, I'm sitting in California here. I go through the same thing every day. You go through the same thing every day. Every housewife, every kid, every parent, every teacher, everybody goes through these challenges every day. The first thing which we need to do is acceptance. The first thing which we need to do is acceptance. Unless you accept that there is something wrong, there's something you need to work on, there's something which you need to fix, It won't even register in your mind and you will ignore it. The way I analyze some of these things, this one thing always strikes me, that we are lacking on the acceptance. We are so carried away in our own mindsets that, hey, I know everything. Hey, I know how to deal with it. And hey, my parents have told me this, this is it. This is the last word I will follow. Hey, this is the religious teaching I have gone through. This is what I'm going to stay for, stay put for, which is okay and great. But where is your individual moral compass? Gandhi ji, in his whole life, fought for, if I had to summarize it, pretty much for three things. I mean, we can debate it outside this also. But at the end of the day, the way I see it is, and this is totally my interpretation, don't get me wrong, Ian. It was truth, it was tolerance, and it was honesty. While we know all of this, we have read books about it, we have heard people about it. Where is, and again, this is not something which you read 5 books or 10 books and you will be like one day like, oh my God, I got it, I'm enlightened today. No, it won't work that way. You are the individual, you need to act on it, you need to work on it, and then only it will work for you. First thing which all of us needs to do, and again, as I started, everything starts from the individual. All the big things, and yesterday I was watching the Jeff Bezos talk on the TV, and it was like, all the big things start small. I mean, he's the founder of Amazon, if folks don't know, the Amazon.com, Amazon.in, etc. Point being, all the big things start small. And that small here is you. As a society, as an individual of the society, as the basic unit of the society, as the basic unit of the family. You are the one who's going to start that change. You are the one who's going to start looking forward that, hey, this is me, and I know what is right and what is wrong, and I will make sure that I will stay with those paradigms throughout my life. If you're not doing that, there are people observing you. And I always say this, that you as an individual are being observed all the time. You won't even know how many people get inspired by you and become the next big businessmen and big academicians or big people around you. You won't even know after 15 to 20 years. I mean, who are the people who got inspired from you? You don't know. You won't know. You will never know. You should always carry that high character to be a model for the rest of the folks around you. So in summary, we have covered quite a few things, right? So in summary, we covered that what is this tolerance talk all about, where it is coming from, what we can do to make it better in our society and around us, and then how we can let other people learn from us knowingly or unknowingly. Perfect example is your parents or your teachers for that matter. You always look your teacher, your parents, your people around you when you're growing up as, these are the characters who are the ideal characters for you. Whatever they do is right. One thing which I am asking all of us to do is that learning process is great. But at some point in your life, when you realize that, hey, I'm being taught these 50 things or 100 things in my life, what are those 5 things I need to adjust based on my own learning? Don't tell me that you are not learning anything. You are just going by the 100 statements which are written in your textbook, which you have to follow. You are learning every day. And if you're learning every day, then those learning needs to show somewhere. You need to adjust those. That's the continuous learning process. You need to adjust those 100 things which you have learned in your life, and you need to tweak maybe few of them, if not all of them, that, hey, I was taught this, but remember, everything is changing around us. The world is not same, which it was 50 years before or 100 years before. Did we adjusted those 100 statements which you're going with, or 50 statements you're going with, did you adjust those with the changing times? Did anybody predicted before that we were going to run into X, Y, or Z problem, which we are facing today? Even if they have predicted, were they prepared for it? I don't think so. So you need to work on some of these things that, hey, I've been told this is true, right? Remember again, one more thing. Definition of right and wrong changes with time and circumstances and situations. And this is everywhere. You pick up Bhagavad Gita, or you pick up whichever religion you follow, you pick up those books, and then you will see that, hey, the definition of right and wrong changes with the situation. How can, if something is written there or something you have observed 25 years before, now you think that, hey, can that still statement hold good for your lifetime? Maybe not. So where is that adjustment? That adjustment, my friends, needs to come from your moral compass. Next time when you see something wrong happening around you, you are the one who are responsible for that action to be taken. And it may be right 25 years before, may not be right now. That is my humble request to all of us, that, hey, stay positive. Wake up in the morning, stay positive. Your day starts right then. Your life starts right then. Live your whole day with all what you have learned and what you think is right. And when I say what you think is right, is your inner compass should tell you and should guide you. Listen to that, please. We have, over the period of time, we have crushed that voice. We have crushed that voice inside us. Looking at the media, looking at all the people around us talking, going through all kinds of different things which we do and which we go through, we have lost track of what I am standing for. Who am I? I mean, what I like what I want to do in this situation. We always go with the prescribed method. Hey, this is what somebody would do in this situation, so I'm going to do the same thing. Not right. Where is you as contributing to, as you, that you, where is your voice there? Please listen to your inner voice and then make a decision. You would be just fine, and everybody will be just fine. Everybody is living their life, as I stated in the beginning. Everybody wants to live their life and living their life to the best of their capabilities and abilities. Please make it a better life for you with some of these things which I just covered. And I see some comments and folks are liking it. So that's great, because these are some of the things which everybody, all of us, needs to invoke in ourselves. That, hey, today and onwards, I will question myself. I'm not going to question the person in front of me or the person living in the third house on the side. I'm going to question myself, that am I doing what I'm doing is right or not? Believe me or not, you will get the answer. But you need to ask it yourself. You need to be inquisitive about it. Problems, answers are within inside you. It's not outside. So please don't blame someone. Please don't complain on something. Please don't start your day with complaining and end your day with complaining. You should live your day that this is your last day of your life. That is how you should live your day. This is the last day of your life. What are those 3 things which you wanted to do and you're not doing just because there are 50 things on your checklist already? Live your day as this is your last day. You will have absolutely no regrets in your life. So please, please and please, everybody, if you want to take one thing out of this talk, please make sure that you stay positive whole day, starting from the beginning, end your day with all the reflections which you have gone through in the day, please make it a good habit. Every day, you would do just fine in the life. And if you are doing just good in your life, people around you, people around them, as a country, as a globe, as a whole world, we would do just fine. All these problem comes when we get complacent, we get lazy up to a certain degree, and we get cozy in certain place. And then we are like, hey, this is the best thing which can happen to me, and I don't care what is happening around me. That is where things go wrong. As an intellectual, all of us needs to understand our responsibilities. And as an intellectual, as a human being, you should be able to feel the feelings of the other person, learn the perspective of the other person. That is what is missing right now. Please understand the perspective of the person in front of you. More than half of the problems in this whole world will go away. Just understand what that person is trying to say. Just understand. I always say, and I'm going to wrap up my talk with this. I hope I didn't take longer than what I was supposed to. I'll wrap my talk with this. I always say, always do what you think other people should be doing to you. What would you do in that situation? The person who you think is not at all a good person, in his eyes or her eyes, that person is also true to himself or herself. Meaning, if I were to simplify it, everybody tries to do what they think is the right and best. Right? You just have to understand their perspective. You're sitting in a boardroom with 5 other people, and everybody is coming up with their own perspectives. You need to understand their perspective. Then only there could be some way of tolerance built in there. Otherwise, there is no tolerance. So some of these challenges in life, we can very easily overcome if we start with these basic things. That first listen. If you leave 10 people in a room, all 10 people will start talking together. Guys, please listen to each other. What does this person want to say? What does this person want to say? Everybody has their perspective. Please understand them. Once you understand them, everybody will listen to you. And you will realize, and you may have already seen, only person those 10 people would hear or listen to would be the person who's trying to genuinely understand the other perspectives. If you had to take one thing out of this talk today, take this out. That please understand or try to understand the perspective of the person in front of you. And you would do just fine. That other person will do just fine. And as a society, we would do just fine. And we will grow tolerant. We'll grow tolerance over time. It all starts with you. Always remember that. Again, thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk in this huge session. A lot of interesting ideas from everybody. I've been listening. And again, I mean, if anybody have any questions, then please feel free to reach out to Dr. Sharma, and then we can be in touch. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you, Sunil. Thank you for your great speech on this topic, speech tolerance. I really enjoyed your speech. Hope you find very well. And thank you so much. We are totally impressed by your speech and moral values for this great topic, speech tolerance for nowadays kids and for younger generations and all the people. This is meant for all the people. So hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Sunil. Next. Now I would like to call Dr. Urmila Gautam. She I would like to call Ms. Urvashi Manchanda. She assists with a dynamic distribution who teaches the scholars since last 5 years. I would like to call Urvashi Manchanda. She is useful and dynamic academician who teaches scholars since last 5 years in the Schmidt Institute, Oxford, BC, Canada. She is a child psychologist too. Over to you, Urvashi ji. Can you hear me, Urvashi ji? Are you there? This is Urvashi Manjanda. Are you hearing me?
Hello.
Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, everybody. So I'm listening to some of the conversations from last few hours. It is nice joining. Thank you for all of you that you will listen to me. As Mr. S.K. Kaushik, he explained about the tolerance very well. I would like to elaborate the same topic. As he also gave the definition that the word tolerance means the willingness to accept or to tolerate, especially opinions or behavior you may not agree with, or to behave sensibly with those who are not like you. Tolerance is needed in all spheres of life and on every level and in every stage because it plays a vital role in establishing peace and love in all the units of society, from the smallest up to the highest. Tolerance does not mean that only one person or party shows tolerance to the others. When some people disagree on certain issues, they must advocate and express their opinion in a respectful manner. Helpful and provocative words should not be used. Tolerance must be shown from both sides of the issue in order for it to be effective. Tolerance can be shown in many ways on different occasions and at different times. A person might fully disagree with others on any issue, from religious to politics, while at the same time honoring and respecting those with the different ideas and opinions and treating them with full dignity and honor. In an age where electronic media has drawn us closer together in what we call as global village, its benefit will only be felt when mutual goodness prevails, when mutual respect and understanding prevail. In this age of globalization, where people of different backgrounds, cultures, and religions live together, and where the world has become multicultural and full of diversity, establishing tolerance and harmony has become very crucial, and fostering mutual love and affection has become vital. Without tolerance and harmony, the lasting peace of societies cannot be maintained, and loyalty for each other cannot be established. Loyalty is born from feelings of love and affection. At a personal level, the feeling of love strengthens the feeling and devotion and makes sacrifices for the sake of nation. If sentiments of love do not exist, then the spirit of sacrifice will not be formed. Unless a person love another, he can never have good feelings in his heart towards him, and he cannot faithfully fulfill the rights due to that person. Lack of tolerance leads to violence, and finally, it destroys the peace and security of society. When people fail in their arguments, they become intolerant, and then they use force and aggression to support their point of view. We have seen considerable incidents in the recent times where, because of the lack of tolerance, people have attacked people and places of worships of other communities and faiths. how nice it would be if everyone tries to express themselves with tolerance in a decent and respectful way. The world is full of diversity, and that is the beauty of our universe. In if there had not been any diversity, the world would appear boring and unattractive and without any variety. Media should play its due role in creating public awareness of the dangers of intolerance and help people understanding the importance of tolerance. The progress of any community or country depends largely on the conduct of the people who reside in it. Discontent, jealousy, prejudice, and intolerance among a few of the people can cause great damage to the whole community or country. Gregarious by nature, men hate to live in isolation. The urge for the association therefore enables men to tolerate the views and habits of others to great extent. Most men have come to realize that the cohesion of the society cannot be secured without the exercise of tolerance on the part of its members. A community or the country is composed of various types of people who psychologically, social, and temperamental attitudes and needs are not the same. In great number of cases, there are fundamental differences even in race, language, and religion among the people. These are the results of economic and social necessities of the modern age, which have compelled people to leave their original homes and live among people of foreign descent. These diversities in a community or country necessitate the maintenance of the tolerant attitude on the part of the people toward one another. They have to respect the culture and society habits and beliefs of one another and refrain themselves from doing or saying things which might offend the susceptibilities of people. The racial and religious clashes that have occurred in various parts of the world indicate the damage that the expression of hatred and prejudice can cause in a country. Every difference, even differences in the colors of the skin can cause problem and violence in the community. And when passions are aroused, men lose their reasons and sense of proportion and indulge in most barbaric acts. Innocent lives become victims of insensate cruelty. The tolerance is essential for peace and harmony in a country could be illustrated by reference to the people in Malaysia, a country in which people of various races reside. Despite culture, racial, and religious difference among themselves, the people here have lived for generations in peace and harmony. They have also helped one another in various ways at various times. It must be admitted, however, there have been a few incidents from time to time caused by communal differences in certain localities, yet they can hardly be attributed to the development of a new nation, which has become the envy of many countries. The racial unity among the people is the main factor that has contributed to the progress of the country in all spheres of activity. Another country that deserve mention is the United States of America. The people of this country too are, too are made up of a diversity of races and cultures. Yet, by tolerance, cooperate, and goodwill among the people as a whole, it has it has become the richest country in the world. All this proves what could be achieved by the people of this community or a country who exercise tolerance among themselves. Increasing intolerance is becoming a serious threat to the peace of society. In recent years, the tolerance level has gone down and people are likely to kill each other over contrasting opinions. People should be given the awareness that all the people cannot have the same opinion and they should learn to respect the other's opinion. Without tolerance, there will be no peace and harmony in the society. So let's talk about COVID 19. While the COVID 19 pandemic is the first and the foremost health crisis, its implications are more far reaching and could threaten global peace and security. The UN Secretary General told members of the Society Council in the closed video conference. Guterres said heightened solidarity is needed if the world is to defeat the crisis, which he called is the gravest test since the founding of this organization, with the governments already struggling to address rising unemployment and economic downturn. But the pandemic also poses a significant threat to the maintenance of international peace and security, potentially leading to an increase in social unrest and violence that would greatly undermine our ability to fight the disease. He warned later, stating that the Council engagement will be critical to mitigate the implications. Indeed, a signal of unity and resolve from the Council would count for a lot at the anxious time, he said. Okay, wide range threats outlined by him. The UN chef outlined 8 ways COVID 19 could undermine global peace and security, beginning with the further erosion of the trust in public institutions if the people perceive that their authorities had mishandled response and were not transparent. The pandemic's economic impact could create major stresses in fragile societies or less developed countries, for example, while the ensuing economic instability will have devastating consequences for women as they make up the majority of the worst affected sectors. Stressing that this is not the time for political opportunism, the Secretary General also feared electoral processes could be affected as postponing or proceeding with the votes could spark political tensions and undermine legitimacy. In some conflict settings, the uncertainty created by the pandemic may create incentives for some actors to promote further divisions and turmoil. This could lead to an escalation of violence and possibly devastating miscalculations, which could further entrench ongoing war and complicate efforts to fight the pandemic. Terrorism and bioterrorism fears. With most comments focused on the pandemic, terrorist groups could see a window of opportunity to strike, with the situation in the Sahel in particular concern. The weaknesses and the lack of preparedness exposed by the pandemic provide a window onto how the bioterrorist attack might unfold and may increase its risk. Non-state groups could gain access of virulent strains that could pose similar devastation to societies around the globe. COVID-19 has also hindered conflicts resolution efforts and many peace processes have stalled as countries respond. The pandemic has also triggered and worsened numerous human rights challenges. We are seeing the stigma, hate speech, and white supremacist and other extremities seeking to exploit the situation, the UN chief said. We are witnessing discrimination in assessing health services, refugees, and internally displaced persons are particularly vulnerable. And there are growing manifestation of authoritarianism, including limits on the media, civic space, and freedom of expression. Silence the guns. The UN chief reminded ambassadors of his recent appeal for the immediate global ceasefire during the pandemic. Some some warring parties have taken steps to lay down their arms, and UN representatives will continue their effort on this front. Following the meeting, Security Council members issued a statement expressing support for the Secretary General's effort concerning the potential impact of the pandemic conflict affected countries and need for unity and solidarity with all those affected. Taking into account some unfortunate threatening events happening on some parts of the globe, our minds wander on how we can protect the future of our children and how to have the safe and peaceful environment. There is a list of 10 simple definite ideas that can heal our broken communities. These are accessible and applicable ways that can be started right at our homes. Commit yourself to nonviolence. If put in a challenging and confronting situation, try to avoid any fight or the use of physical force. Extend some help when you see someone upset, lost, or puzzled. Teach a child how to be kind, calm. The best way to teach our children is to be a good example. Kids learn and remember what they see we are doing. How we treat the elders, the homeless, and the people with a disability, people who appear different from the child. This way, we teach them tolerance. When you see any form of injustice and discrimination, speak out. Don't let fear hold you from voicing out what is right. When your anger is triggered, count to 10 before you say anything. Words, when uttered, will never be taken back. So, best be think for the better response. Try to be more compassionate and be more understanding for other people's feeling. Being part of religious community can provide you with an opportunity to be able to promote peace through ministries and social programs like charity, medical missions, and gift giving activities. The tremendous social initiative that will help you to build a stronger and more compassionate character is through community volunteering. You can try searching online for organizations looking for volunteers. Um, Choose the vocation that only brings positive things for our family and community. A warm smile and hello is on the street or wherever you are in the world can bring a lot of positive and peaceful vibes. So at the end, as we know, every day COVID 19 reaches to a new and heartbreaking milestone in our lives. This virus that is keeping us contained in our homes is increasing and affecting our relationships at the national and international level, even between each other. Every loss in each and every family is a tragedy, but it is an opportunity to work hard to stop the transfer of the virus and stay safe. It has been noticed that each and every country is pushing back the virus in a smart and different way, encouraging the rest of the world to follow up. On the other hand, crisis moments present opportunity to use technology, appreciate life, have faith and belief, be united and appreciate each other. Those on the front lines against COVID 19 are conscripts or armed force men They are our doctors, nurses, pharmacists, teachers, caregivers, store clerks, utility workers, small business owners, and employees. Those people are sacrificing their health and life for us as true patriotism. We should appraise them, appraise scientific research, and support them. Our lifestyle is changing. After being comforted with the presence of others, touching things, and breathing in the air and enclosed space, we are now distant and conscious. What we are facing today is a common enemy. It is shared threat, and it that does not distinguish between reds and blues. So it is the time to begin to promote the constructive patterns in our cultures and political discourse. This time is this time for change is clearly ripening to make substantial new investments in public goods for health, especially and public services to empower women, encourage scientific researchers, and to promote more values of tolerance and peace in our culture. This virus is forcing to reconsider who we are, what we value, and it will help us rediscover the better version of ourselves for a peaceful and stable world. So it is driving change as it revealed the flaws in our healthcare system, our research and academic system, our government system, our safety system, and our human relationships. We should rethink about the use of technology to serve us more efficiently and effectively, to facilitate our life using virtual reality, augmented reality, telemedicine, nanotechnology, and artificial intelligence. Okay, I invite everyone to appreciate and support medicine, science, scientific research, and human values, to encourage people to contribute to their economy and society, to join efforts to fight this common enemy with faith, solidarity, tolerance, wisdom, and our human values. This is the right time to have more tolerance, advocates, and peace builders. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Thank you for your lecture delivering here. It will be educative for all the people who will attend as a listener. Thanks again for your commitment to listen in the webinar. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We are totally impressed by your speech, Mrs. Survashi Manchanda. Thank you very much.
Now,
now I would like to call Dr. Rumila Gautam. She is well regarded and famed scientist who received her PhD degree from Anand, Gujarat. She served in the different institution of Haryana as a fanatic enthusiastic. She has written many books on her subject, life science. As present, Dr. Gautam is working as a director SSC at Karnal, Haryana. Over to Dr. Rumila Gautam. Are you listening me? Are you hearing me? Are you getting me? Dr. Gautam? नहीं आ रही है। Just a minute, Dr. Ramila Gautam, we are not hearing your voice. I think some technical issues there. Dr. Ramila Gautam.
Mike unmute karo. Mike.
It's okay. Yeah, are you getting your voice? Over to you.
Yes. Okay. Okay, yes, I can. I think I can now. You can hear me now.
Okay. Proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Adinath College for inviting me. Thank you, Director. Thank you, the Principal of the college, Dr. Sharma. Namaskar, Namaste. And this means I bow to the divine in you. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschet Dukna Bhagavad. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. This is what our culture is. We have always prayed to God that may all be happy, may all be free from illness, may all see what is auspicious, and may no one suffer. And that let peace prevail. But what we have done to ourselves, all has changed to me and I. Selfishness, intolerance, impatience has prevailed in the recent past. Distinguished guests and all participants, there is so much unrest in the world presently, both natural and anthropogenic. Anthropogenic means like humans have been creating all this. This year, cyclones, floods, pest attacks, and pandemic diseases like COVID-19 has made us realize that nature is always dynamic, and so is human. It is the same land where Mahatma Gandhi and Lord Gautam Buddha dwelled and preached tolerance and non-violence. They preached love for mankind, not surely loving a specific color of human skin though. Present day human is losing the good human being human character. He has so much intolerance and hatred generated in his heart and mind that we react instinctively without giving things a thought. Let's ponder why this change. The world is turning materialistic. This is Kali, a machine world. We strive for small term monetary happiness and comfort, ignoring the emotional bonding which is long lasting. Reading, which used to evoke thoughts and synapses in our brain cells, has taken over by that tunnel vision. That is, we read and watch and see what we wish on the social media, and which is most of the time only for provoking and rather than feeding the brain. Nuclear families has lesser time for children, and the faculties need to be developed in the early years are damaged beyond repair. This leads to no emotional bonding as children grow up. Friends are replaced by gadgets with AI, artificial intelligence, which in doing more, which do more harm than they can help us. They can help the fragile thought process of the growing kid just by feeding what is common and programmed. They cannot think just because they have been watching all those. That is what is all programmed and that is all there, and everybody do the same thing. Every child is learning the same thing. They're not using their brain. They're not letting their brain develop. Egos have grown into self-respect. There is a hairline difference between the two words, but that is what is getting lost. The difference is getting lost. Parents are busy in accumulating comfort for the child, thus giving them no choice to come out of that. No compromising, no cooperation, and thus no relationships. A program was initiated in US to teach tolerance by the law department, and this was to foster inclusiveness. That is, to encourage people to feel comfortable in welcoming others in their life, at offices, at workplaces, and even in schools. This was to reduce bias and to promote educational equity. The problem is madness. What we can do at present as a parent. A child learns from the parents. The imbibition occurs as he grows. The brain tissue matures during the early stages of life, that is during the preschool time period. So parents are the best teachers to set examples. If we can acknowledge emotions at home, which can help in developing compassion and empathy, distributing work equally among siblings, leading by examples, developing strength and interest and making them learn from every day irrespective of the color, caste and creed, then emphasizing anti-bias and social justice, encouraging children to challenge prejudice and think beyond. Rational and logical thinking plays a very important role. Reasoning out their queries and comments is the most important aspect. What as a teacher and counselor can do? as a teacher and we the counselor can do. We can empower them to enact the changes. We can teach them social justice by examples. We can arrange group activities involving multi-racial participants, creating awareness about different cultures, traditions, diversity, and making them fall in love for the same. Encouraging diverse student admissions in a class, school, and this is the most effective one which can generate social emotional skills. And there can be exchange programs in schools, interstate, international, and this will be for mix-up meets. Mix-up meets means there can be intercaste, intercultural, interracial, all sort of students, they can meet together and they can exchange their culture and tradition and they can talk about. That will be improving this like the problem like anything. Students to be moved out of their comfort zone to dispel prejudice. Assigning teamwork and cooperative tasks to students can sit across a table and discuss rationally. Sports has the greatest power to develop cooperation and team spirit. We need to revive Buddha's preaching, awakening to reality and introspection for self and social healing. Peace comes from within and not by hating others. Only three things matter in the end: how much you are loved, how gently you live, and how gracefully you let go things not meant for you. Religious, racial, and cultural and political differences will always exist. This diversity should spice our lives rather than destroying it. It's our choice to decide how to overcome challenges. And as Franklin Roosevelt said, if civilization is to survive, we must cultivate the science of human relationships, the ability of all people of all kinds to live together in the same world at peace. In the end, I'll quote Nelson Mandela: no one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or religion. People must learn to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can also be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. And thanks, and let humanity prevail. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thanks, Doctor. Thanks, Dr. Urmila.
Thank you so much.
Very good lecture.
Thank you so much for providing me the opportunity and the platform.
Thank you so much for giving
Thank you, Namaskar.
Thank you, Dr. Urmila Gautam, for nice speech. Thank you so much. We are totally impressed by your speech and moral values. And now day-to-day topic, COVID-19. It is a very sensitive topic of tolerance for the whole age group. And tolerance means willingness to allow others to do or say what they want without criticizing them. It is a quality which enables one to tolerate. Thank you for your nice speech.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Thank you.
Meet again tomorrow.
Next. Next, I would like to invite Mrs. Shikha Jain. She's a software engineer and is working in the financial software industry. She has worked in the financial software industries. She has done her master's in software engineering from St. Joseph's State University. Shikha has deep interest in volunteering for the society, especially in the area of education for women and girls. Mrs. Shikha Jain. Over to Mrs. Shikha Jain.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for the invitation, speaking about tolerance. And yeah, I would like to say thank you to Dr. Urmila. Her speech was very impressive, especially the guidelines she gave about the kids' upbringing and the impression they have from parents. That's really very impressive, very influencing, and a lot of learning over there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So let me start with my content. So hello everyone again. When we hear the word tolerance, for me the big impression is that someone is forced to tolerate the torture, the way Hitler did on Jewish people, and Jewish community was not having any other option other than tolerating it. If this is the case, then why we are discussing tolerance and why it is the need of this era? How can this be so needful? Hello everyone, again myself Shikha Jain, and I am here to share with you my thoughts and explanation about it. In our childhood, we all played with a group of other kids, our friends, and I'm sure we all have remembered some of our fights, arguments among kids. What was that? That was the absence of that was the absence of a very basic form of tolerance called patience. As a kid, we were innocent, restless, misunderstood our friends, hence we fought and cried. Okay, here we identify these two extreme means of tolerance. The lightest form is patience and the heaviest is sufferance. We are well understood that we really need it in today's era, but the matter is which side of it is the lowest or the highest. I mean, which extreme we want to be. Obviously, we want to stay on the lowest one because nobody wants to reach the state where we do not have any other option but are forced to suppress our pain. But the question is where we are actually, on lowest or at the highest. Sadly, we are on the high extreme because we miss all ignorance and we miss the opportunity when we could save ourselves by staying on the lowest. For example, to put my statement and to justify myself, here are a few examples. We all human communities who are well educated could have taken significant initiatives to educate our society being selfless. We have never been responsible enough for our society as individuals. Another, as a child to our adulthood, we have seen lots of difference the way a girl has grown up and taught and obey a boy. Why not be treated them equal, or why not we could have predicted the dangerous future of this unequal treatment? When we make unnecessary monuments of buildings which have millions of the same type already, why not come up with this enthusiastic and innovative approach that can bring transformation in our society? It is very sad when we realize that the dowry system is still the part of our culture. Even the well-qualified boys stay silent when it is their turn to have the advantage of the system. Do they think that if they confront their elders, it does not feel good? Another side point is that we feel very smart when we break the rules and take advantage. We never think in a single minute that what our future generation are learning from us. If we are rich and have extra earning, our first preference is to spend money on us. Does not matter we need it or not. We want it to show off. Or we donate, we will make sure it should be 100% show off. We never think about millions of unfortunate women and girls who are forced to do worse job to fill their stomachs. We all love comfort, fun, and flexibility. Before throwing a disposable plate, spoon, fork, we never think about how it is going to end in the environment and how the environment is going to react when billions of plastics are going to be thrown like this. When our society forces a woman to give birth to only a baby boy, they have never think that this strong desire of a male kid is going to cause an imbalance. Seems like I am making a lot of complaints here, but these are not complaints. All these are references from the past where we missed the tolerance. And as a new generation, we have to work on all these mistakes and in the future apply the tolerance at the right place at the right time. For example, currently we can learn a lesson from Italy about what to do avoid in the situation of COVID-19. Why we are facing such giant challenges? Because we never understood our responsibilities as a citizen of a country to our country. We never took the pain to make people understand about the worst outcomes of their temperamental actions. In other words, we never applied the first stage of tolerance. I mean, never gave enough thought to our actions, decisions, and about controlling self and society about their wrong behavior. Now imagine in reverse direction. If we have been enough thoughtful about our desires, for example, being kind to the environment, we would not have seen the danger of global warming. If we had treated boys and girls equally, we were not seeing the bad custom of dowry, or if the young people took some pain to convince the society that no, that's not the way. What I want to say here, that taking the initiative to stop something wrong is a first step about tolerance. If we had been thoughtful about donating money, currently we have not seen the lack of hospital when there is a pandemic situation in the world. At the end, I would like to ask all of us to decide what to tolerate. Do we want to tolerate the pain, like when a kid has to get up in the morning and when her mom says, hey, get up, kid, you have to get ready for the school. This is one type of pain. Or the pain when a kid does not hard work and ignore all the school and finally suffers. What I'm saying here, we want to take the tolerate the situation at the beginning of the pain or at the last when the pain is uncontrollable. There's no way to control it. So we need to find out the right moment, right time, and being proactive. Our tolerance is the need of the world because we need it as a proactiveness to stop something wrong at very initial stage. Take that pain at its initial stage. Which pain is better? Of course, the first one, because later it will bring the best result. We need tolerance at the moment of proactiveness, initializing a positive moment for the environment and girls' education and many more issues like this. At the last, thank you so much. And again, thank you everyone to listen me and being patient. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shikari. Thank you, Dr. Shikari.
Oh, I'm not doctor, I'm just Shikha. Thank you.
Dr. Sharma, giving my vote of thanks about delivering your lecture here. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mrs. Shikha Jain. A nice speech on teacher tolerance. Tolerance is the willingness to listen to others, at most agree or disagree, or not enter into fights and dominations. These qualities have to be bred at every level of society. Democracy, after all, means tolerance of dissent. If this tolerance is not imbibed and nurtured, it will only give rise to another Bosnia, Chechnya, or Kashmir. Thank you for your nice speech.
Shikari, please.
She left.
Yeah. Shikari, hearing me?
Next is Karina. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Karina R. Jensen. She is a reputed educationist.
Yes, Shikari, please. I want to give thanks again. Thanks again towards management of the college. You are a member of college management also. I again given you thanks again for cooperating us for participation as a resource person in the webinar. Thanks again from my side, from management. Thanks.
I would like to invite Dr. Karina R. Jensen. She is a reputed educationist of the France. She has worked professor for global innovations and leadership of practice director, Center for the Leadership and Effective Organization in France. Over to you, Dr. Karina R. Jensen.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and namaste. It's very much an honor to give a talk at your conference at the College of Education and to share my thoughts around tolerance. So thank you again. I will speak about tolerance in a sense of how we can move forward and create appreciation for cultural diversity, how we work together in the world from local to global actions, and by creating innovative solutions that we celebrate the diversity of our world, in that sense, bring more peace as well and tolerance. So I would like to start by talking about how important it is to have a local vision as well as a global vision. So how will we create a global vision? We can create a global vision. And it's very important at all levels to start locally and think about what kind of difference do we want to make in the world. It doesn't matter whether you are in Bangalore, in Delhi, or here in Paris, where I am, or in San Francisco, where I come from. We all need to start with a local vision of how can we contribute to a better world. And so it's very important to link that local vision to a global vision. And what I think also is important is in celebrating that cultural diversity, how can we celebrate a collective intelligence? So that means that how can we, it's not only the lone genius as that we see that's important, it's really about tapping into the collective intelligence of everyone, especially today. We have great problems to solve in a turbulent and dynamic and changing world, and that's going to take the collective intelligence of everyone. And so we really, as the teachers as well, need to think about how we nurture this within education with our students, for them to appreciate how to collaborate and how to really appreciate the collective intelligence of their classmates in order to create valuable solutions. Another aspect that I think is very important in education is co-creating and connecting ideas. Very much today, in terms of developing creative minds, is looking at how can we ensure that we can co-create and connect those ideas. So in the classroom, to explore, to develop problem-solving abilities, to innovative thinking, it's very important to pose challenges where students can co-create and think about, collectively problem solve, explore those problems together, and then connect the ideas to see how they can together develop a powerful solution. And if we look today at the conference, I've been listening, and there's so many wonderful ideas and thoughts that have been shared. And so I would like to ask each of you, what is one powerful idea or thought that has come up today for you? How would you visualize that? Would it be one word that you would see that, what is the one word that you think has been very powerful today in discussing tolerance? Or maybe it's a symbol, maybe visually, what is that symbol that has been created for you? So I would like to ask each one of you to think about that, and together, how do we connect each of those ideas? And I don't know if I see any on the screen now, any words, any powerful words that you want to share. We'll see later, but think about those words and then think about how do we connect them to create powerful ideas, which is very important for teaching and education today. The other point I'd like to address is teachers as knowledge facilitators. So looking more at how will teachers become the future knowledge facilitators. I have just spent a week at an international conference with innovators from around the world. And there's a group in particular that I've been working with where we've been looking at what are the future skills, what is important to lead in today's environment and to be successful. And so we've looked at who are the future innovators, what kind of leadership skills will that take? And it's been interesting to see what has emerged from these practitioners and researchers from around the world. And some of the most important characteristics that have emerged have been inclusion, being inclusive, and then being able to respect and tolerate, but also to optimize that diversity. So being an inclusive leader and ensuring that every voice is heard. And in that sense, also having an open mind, being able to facilitate knowledge sharing and collaboration amongst colleagues and collaborators, being able to also to be positive, a positive thinker, not only a critical thinker and challenge and see what needs to be done, but to look at the positive side. How can we move forward and create more value and a more positive vision for our local communities as well as our global communities. And finally, another aspect that came from those discussions is really about how to tap into the network, how to facilitate knowledge, but orchestrate innovation throughout the network, which will become very important for leading into the future, which impacts our role as educators too, is to see, well, how do we shape those future leaders? And how do we nurture those skills from a very early age? And what becomes important there is then looking at, well, how can we really nurture those skills? And so I'm going to share 3 particular skills that I find very important and through my research that I found across cultures have become important for future leaders and for from youth to adult to even to executives or to senior leaders. These are the new skills that will help us navigate an environment that is truly global. It's international still today. We're quite interdependent. It's also an environment that's multicultural. We need to celebrate that diversity and not ignore it. And it's also an environment that's digitally connected. So we need to look at how those technologies can empower us. And in doing so, I've found that there are 3 critical areas that we need to think about as educators. And one is creative mind. So how, as educators, to develop these creative minds, which is critical because as we move forward with technology and robotics and artificial intelligence, the human mind, the development of the human mind will become critical, and especially when it comes to creativity, when it comes to critical thinking, storytelling, imagination. And so as educators, we need to develop that in terms of students and future leaders who can develop a shared vision, who can tell stories and think about the future and create a compelling vision where they can invite others to join in making a positive impact on the world. And part of that is having the skill to facilitate those conversations, to invite new ideas, to be inclusive, but also co-create, to nurture one's creativity and innovative thinking and invite others on that creative journey. Second is critical thinker. So being the critical thinker, looking at how we nurture those skills as well for future leaders. What is becoming very important for human-centric intelligence is really to ensure very strong analytical abilities. How will our future leaders be able to bring sound analytical thinking, not only by gathering important data, but also recognizing, identifying, and critical knowledge that will be important for problem solving. And this is something that is important to nurture in the classroom. And really having this focus as a problem solver. So continuously being able to look at challenges and look at bringing ability to problem solve and integrating knowledge that is critical to creating new solutions. The third area that I found is becoming very important for future leaders in our changing environment is looking at collaborators. So looking here at how our students and future leaders will become great collaborators And those take specific skills. The ability to facilitate knowledge, to share knowledge, but it also takes an open mind. So looking at how to open the mind for students to be respectful of others' knowledge and perspectives, and this is very much aligned with tolerance, is really to see others' knowledge, others' views as an opportunity to learn. And in that sense, creating the collective knowledge that will be very important for creating new ideas as well as new solutions. And that means that there needs to be a joy of learning. And I think as teachers, we have a big role to play in that joy of learning, to develop learning experiences in the classroom that are dynamic, that are interactive, to focus on experiential learning, for students to take that joy of learning, to see how joyful it is to think of new ideas, to solve problems, to integrate critical knowledge, and to create new opportunities. And so in that sense, we are creating leaders for the future who are innovation orchestrators. Because as I've seen from my research in locally and globally, the future leaders will be project and team driven. And in this new networked environment, it takes a skill to continuously initiate a new idea, a new opportunity, and to communicate that idea, and then to analyze and develop an important business case or an important project that can be executed. So it's a continuous circle and will continue to be so in the future, especially as we're digitally connected. So our students of today, our leaders of tomorrow, will need to learn how to continuously initiate, develop projects, create those ideas, and develop them into projects, and then execute them and ensure that they truly bring value to the communities they serve. And then we also have to look at how our youth will, our students will be digitally savvy. How will they be able to connect to these technologies and use them in positive ways? And we are already seeing the emergence of the social networking, and it will be important to help guide youth there, or students, to look at how to connect those networks through social networking, making those connections and relationships, and then facilitating that knowledge sharing across platforms, and in the process learning from each other across disciplines, across cultures, across the world, so that together we create powerful solutions. And I see this in a way is to look at how do we empower students, how do we empower youth? And this is a visual I bring from a project I've worked on in Nepal. I've worked worked with many age groups. Here in France, I work with college students from in their 20s, and as well as older professionals, leaders in their 30s and 40s. But what gave me a lot of joy was to work with youth in Nepal. And these are youth from marginalized communities. They were only 18, between 18 and 22, many coming from orphan homes, and then they were mentored by local business school students. What happened is that we tried to look at how can we help them create a sustainable future? How can we put them on the right path? Through a 2-week intensive training program. And that 2-week intensive training program helped develop these skills that I have just shared with you. We only had 2 intensive weeks. Many thought, wow, you won't be able to influence these youth. You know, they only have high school education. They come from poor communities. They don't really have a future. And we thought, yes, they do, and they can learn. And within those 2 weeks, they became powerful social entrepreneurs. They learned open-mindedness, creative thinking, looking at how they could solve problems through the interactive pedagogy. So it's really looking at how to develop this creative mind, right? We used simple tools like Post-it notes, creativity to ensure they can develop their critical thinking skills as well as collaboration skills. Within 2 weeks, they developed incredible solutions for their local communities, from a support center for young women to a water treatment center, a waste management tool. It showed that our youth of today, our students of today, have incredible ambition and willpower. They also want to create good for their local communities. And I think as teachers, as educators, we have a great responsibility and a great opportunity to help all students, no matter what background they come from, men and women, young men and women who have great potential. Whether they come from just from high school, or they are going through college, or they are older adults our age who also need to continuously improve, go through continuous learning. So I would like to close my presentation by pointing to the future and what we need to think about, and looking at how we as educators can inspire change. And I think what is very powerful in our roles is looking at how can we be change makers. And this is a question that I gave the youth that I just told you about in the story. I asked them, what do you want to be in the future? And a majority said, we want to be change makers. And as educators, I think we have an incredible opportunity to help these shape these change makers for the future, help inspire change, and in the process, create value for people and the planet. So I thank you, Dhanyavad. It's been a pleasure. And I wish you a very successful journey on your path as educators.
Thank you. Thank you for your embellished speech. You are really spoke.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
In my short days, prepare for cooperate us. Thank you, sir. Namaste. Namaste from all Indians. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karina Jensen. We are all totally impressed by your speech and moral values, Dr. Jensen. To be tolerant means that you accept other people's opinions and preferences even when they live in a way that you don't agree with. Tolerance also means that you don't put your opinion above those of others, even when you are sure that you are right. Thank you so much, Dr. Karina Jensen, for a nice speech on teach tolerance, a very sensitive topic. Thank you again. Next, I want to introduce Dr. Rohita Sharma. She is a reputed artist of the Punjab state. She has established herself as a renowned educationist in the field of educational research. She is working hard. As at present, Dr. Rohita is working as an associate professor in lovely professional University, Punjab, India. Over to Dr. Rohita Sharma. Are you there, Dr. Rohita Sharma? Are you listening me?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thank you very much. On the behalf of AIAER, first of all, I would like to thanks to all the participants for their wonderful presentation on teach tolerance, need of the present era, definitely. And on this wonderful evening, my special and heartily thanks to respected and honorable Governor of Uttar Pradesh, Mrs. Anandibenji Patel. She has given us her valuable time and enlightened us with her beautiful words for our country and its different colors. She focused on the life of legends as Mahatma Gandhi. She suggested to follow the path of tolerance, compassion, and forgiveness. In everybody's life, so many challenges are there, different types of hurdles are there, and we should face it to get our goal. She explained, nobody can hurt you without your permission. It's you, how you react. She also discussed the lives of Lord Rama and Lord Buddha. As a god, Lord Rama had to face so many challenges, but he not give up. He faced all the problems, all the challenges with the inner strength, and that is related with the tolerance, compassion, and calmness. उनकी सहनशीलता और सहिष्णुता के गुण ने ही उन्हें मानव से महामानव बनाया. If you want to first teachers, we need to transform ourselves, and it's the duty of all, everyone in this world. Then later, Dr. Vijay Kumar, Deputy Secretary, Academics and Regional Director, ERC, NCTE, India, discussed on the various issues of contemporary scenario. He mentioned the statement of Mahatma Gandhi ji. If we want to reach the peace in this world, we should educate our children first. He also quoted the words of Nelson Mandela that if a country has poverty, then there is no tolerance, no peace. He suggested to have positive attitude and to do experiment on them. By humanistic approaches, we can get everything. He suggested the role of a teacher is to teach, living in harmony with ourselves and with the other. Education promotes peace. After that, Dr. Sandeep, Honorable Vice Chancellor of SRM University, Chennai, focused on the role of everyone. He suggested we need to be loyal to each other first. Learning to tolerance is the key of success, and through education, we can get it. Education is the most important part of children, to teach new things, new learnings, new habits, and definitely so on. Children are just the reflection of the parents, teachers, and their mentor. When we respect each other, they will learn the same. We should leave the greed of materialistic things. After that, we can achieve tolerance. And he also quoted the words of Lord Buddha: have compassion for all beings, rich and poor alike. Very good presentation was that. And after that, Professor Adriana from University of Rome enlightened us with the words of Aristotle and Buddha. She expressed that peace is the weapon for all the things, for all the aims which we want to achieve. Mrs. After that, Mr. Madhushan from Sri Lanka described the concept of responsibility of the different organizations and their role. And he suggested to implementation their role also and bring peace to the world. At this globalized world, he suggested to all the professionals to take their responsibility. After that, Dr. Fozia Fatima, assistant professor from AIR University, Islamabad, Pakistan, focused on the human right and its role for a human being. Then she stressed that human right can build the inner strength. Means the inner strength is only by our rights, which we have. So it's the time to change the society and follow the human rights in the positive manner. Thank you, Dr. Fatima. Dr. Wabhav. presented his paper on moral duties of society for war against disaster. After that, Dr. Joyce from Nigeria presented her paper, Teach Tolerance. She focused on importance of the tolerance by presenting the important features and its implementation in their life of everyone. After that, Mr. S.K. Kaushik, senior technical architect from USA, gives a message and definitely set a alarm by his paper. He prepare yourself for the next changes. He suggested, don't wait for anything. Start which you have and don't blame on others. This is the responsibility to everyone for the individual person to do something. And after that, Mrs. Urvashi Manchanda from Canada presented her paper, Importance of Tolerance for Peace and Harmony in this COVID-19 pandemic. As it is the health crisis, it's everybody's responsibility to defeat the crisis. At this crucial time period for global peace, we need to be apart from every political issues. We should also teach to everyone tolerance. Definitely, Urmila Gautam, and the director of SSC Karnal, presented her wonderful words on research paper Teach Tolerance, Need of the Present Era. She described, first of all, she started with our culture, and after that, she summed up with all the dimension from the all area. Then Mrs. Shekha Jain from California, USA, enlightened us with her valuable words on the tolerance and society. Dr. Karina from School of France, she started her presentation with global vision. And she mentioned that teachers are the bridge for everything. She, uh, she, uh, she explained that they are the knowledge facilitators. They are the creative thinker. In that sense, they should be open-minded, creative thinker, full of positive thinking and positive attitude. This is the responsibility of every teacher. Definitely, they are the creative thinker and they are going to mend our nation. Very good presentation from all of you. I would like to thank again, and I would also want to conclude this session by the beautiful lines by Mahatma Gandhi ji. Mutual tolerance is a necessity. Mutual tolerance is a necessity for all races. It's the responsibility of the teacher. Definitely, it's the responsibility of our students, our parents, and every individual person of nation. If someone want to achieve any race, definitely the mutual tolerance is a necessity for all time and for all the races. Thank you very much. Over to Adinath College.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We all are enlightened by your speech and your conclusion you made for us. Now, since today's session is going to be over, I'd like to say a thought on peace and tolerance. That peace and tolerance is needed by all the human beings. It's a very indispensable and crucial thing needed by everyone in life. Tolerance does not mean to just obey someone or just to have showing one alliance, but it's for both the alliances to be in a very mutually unanimous things. Tolerance is when you just refuse to be discriminate someone and always obey each and everyone. Tolerance is the main thing of everyone's life. Everyone's beliefs and culture. It is the most necessary thing. Now, as I'd like to end it with a quote that a good event never ends with an opportunity. It just starts and waits for a new opportunity to be begin. So, all right, thank you for all your speeches. We'll be right back tomorrow. And now I'll take this to Dr. Principal Sir for giving an oath of thanks to all of you who were presented and gave us speeches.
Thank you. Thank you to all the participants, all the dignitaries, and special thanks to Dr. Ravita Sharma who concludes the session, concludes the trend of educating people. So thanks a lot again and again from myself, from my college community, from my management, and from thanks again. Hope you all join us tomorrow and continue the business of Bihar. We receive some ideas, some knowledge, statement. Thanks again. This is an example of Dr. Kanaji, Dr. Mehtaji, both are students in the same class. So, an example of progress, how you can tolerate, how you can be peaceful, how you can be sensible. Thank you again. All the dignitaries, Dr. Kanaji, namaste, good night.